Alexander Quinn, and we've got Michelle Fielding here, and we're off to the races. How are you doing, Michelle Fielding?
Hi, Alex. You caught me a bit off guard there. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. We're going to keep that bit because it's quite funny. Right, a bit about you for people that don't know. You are a spiritual coach. You are a channeler. You are guided by angelics. You've got a YouTube channel that has like literally exploded in the past 3 months. You've got a video that I think just in the past 2 months went from 0 to like 72,000. That's basically like 1,500 every single day. And how are you getting on?
Gosh, I didn't realize till you've just repeated those numbers back to me. I've actually been really busy until Christmas because exactly because of that one video. It just seemed to really get people in a way that I don't really understand why, but it was just about predictions really and what was going on in the world. And I think everybody's just kind of looking for information. So it took me a bit by surprise as well. But
Yeah.
it's all good that that the information is reaching everyone.
So can we start a little bit with you? So is this work you've always done, or did you have more of a 3D sort of background, or do you just want to start with how this whole thing began?
So I think when I was younger, I always felt a little bit different to other people, but I didn't really understand why that was. And then in my sort of teens and 20s, I was able to feel and sense people's energy and events that were coming up. So if a full moon was coming or something was going to happen in the news or something was going on with somebody around me, like maybe an argument was going to happen, I had this keen kind of sense of it going to happen before it did. Didn't really understand what that was all about, to be fair. And it wasn't until a bit later that I had quite a difficult situation going on in my life. And I just became, I got to the point one day where I just sort of reached up to God and said, I don't really know how to do this anymore. Can you just sort of step forward? And after that, it was a very strange set of circumstances that just kind of synchronized. And through that process, I started to be able to see angels. And it didn't just happen like I woke up one day and they were there. I was actually guided to go and buy this tiny little crystal ball. And when I bought it, I just thought, oh, that will look nice as an ornament. I didn't really think that, I was able to see in it or anything like that. But it came with this like little booklet and it explained, what you had to do. So I worked on looking in this crystal ball for a few days and I didn't see anything. And I was already working with angel cards and I just sort of got a little bit annoyed with it and said, well, if I'm supposed to see that in this crystal ball, then you're going to have to help me because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Because I'd been like staring at this thing for like 3 days and I couldn't see anything like it was saying in the book.
Yeah.
And of course, that was why it wasn't working, because I was trying to make it work. And then the minute that I said, oh, well, if I'm supposed to do it, I will, suddenly I looked in this ball with a completely different attitude of just, well, show me then. And I could see it moving like a movie screen.
Wow.
And I could see what was coming up for my future immediately in the next kind of year. And then the ball started to teach me everything about the universe. So it showed me all the layers and it showed me angels and it showed me how energy works. And it was basically training my own third eye to open, because a crystal ball is essentially like a third eye. And so now, even though I do have a crystal ball, I don't really use it in the same way because I have my own ability to do what you would do in a crystal ball, but in my own third eye. So that's really how the clairvoyance opened up. And then I was living in Spain And I was living in a place in southern Spain where an archangel called Sandalphon has a retreat. And I started to wake up in the morning there and see this tall angel where his head was outside of the roof and his feet
Wow.
were below the ground. And at that time, I didn't know that was Sandalphon, but that's indicative of him because he's called the tall angel, and he represents the journey between heaven and earth, which is why his head is in heaven and his feet are in the ground. So he represents that journey of ascension from beginning to end. And so that's how I got introduced to angels, was really just from going to WH Smith, which is a stationery shop in the UK, and buying this little tiny ball with a booklet. And that's how it kind of all started to unravel.
That's amazing. Do you still
Yeah.
have the ball? Do you still keep it, or ever use it, or?
I now have a different crystal ball, which is much bigger, and it just sits in my lounge. And when I'm watching TV, I sometimes glance at it, and it will give me images of certain places. So yesterday, last night, for instance, I could see the coming march that's going on in Washington DC. In fact, it's happening tomorrow, and I could see that there was a lot of dark energy building up over it, and that there was a light source trying to infiltrate that. And I think that the march has been strategically planned partly to bring light to that area of the country because it's being attacked dramatically by the dark.
Mm.
And that's what I was shown last night.
I mean, we were touching on this just as we were warming up before we came online, and we're going to talk about a few other things. But Biden's inauguration on the 20th, and I'd love to hear your view on this because I think the smoke alarm went off before just as I was asking you, but. There are some quite volatile astrological things, very volatile astrological things. I made a video about it that are all aligning up to happen on that day. And it looks like it's not going to be a straightforward day. Looks like Trump is, basically, from what I'm hearing, the message I'm getting is expect the unexpected on that day.
Yeah.
Have you got anything on that?
Well, the way I've had it channeled to me, and I've actually just put a video together, which is hopefully going out later on today. I don't do astrology, so I don't know what the planets and things are saying. But the way that it's been explained to me is that the inauguration day will not go the way that it normally goes. So we do have a clear winner. We've always had a clear winner, even though that's not known yet in the public arena. And the clear winner was always Donald Trump. But obviously, because of the election counting and different aspects of the media, we haven't had the truth come out into the forefront yet. So inauguration day is going to be slightly different, and it might not, even though we will possibly know who the winner is at that point, it won't be certified until probably March, and it could even go from March till June. And I think it's something to do with the fact that going forward, the whole of the setup in terms of the Constitution and its financial system in the USA and how that will affect everything going forward, it's all going to change its system. And so I think that we're not just looking at who we're putting into power, we're looking at a system that we're going to be putting in. So the message I was kind of getting was more about not focusing on necessarily who the winner is, but what's going to be the result of who goes forward and how the system might change. Because the system, as we know it, the left and the right and the two-party system just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so the message that I'm getting is that going forward, it's going to be a completely new setup. So it would make sense that at the inauguration day, whereas I don't really understand USA constitutional law, but I would imagine that something gets stamped and sealed normally on the 20th of January. But I feel that that stamping and finalization might take a bit longer. So I think we will know who the winner is, but it won't be in a final format like black and white until a bit later on.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
quite,
it's going to
yeah.
be a really interesting day to watch. I mean, I can't wait to see what happens. I think there's going to be some very heated tensions in the streets, and I'm seeing a lot of duality and divide. Let's see how that plays out. But I've heard a lot of other channelers and the spiritual healers saying that even if Trump is not officially sort of brought in back into power, I've heard other channelers and psychics talk about him in a way whereby he will not be in government, but it'll almost be like he is more powerful out of government, pulling the strings from out of office, is what I've been hearing quite a lot.
So this is exactly what I've just channeled for today's video. When we are thinking that he's not going to be in power, what we mean is his party, as we understand it, will be in power, but he might not actually be leading it at the front anymore. He might not be the front, like the spokesperson. He might step back and take a more strategic role. And so what the big event might be is that someone else who we don't know yet might take that front person role. And the way I've been explaining it to people is it's like Donald Trump is a businessman. So he knows about strategy and how to run an organization as a business. And I see him running the country like a business. So in that respect, he would still be the CEO or the top man, whatever label the USA would put on the top guy. But he will be in the background doing the strategy, which is what he's really good at. And then the day-to-day person, or like the operations manager, if you like, that could be someone else. And the names that have been sort of coming around me are people like, it could be Flynn initially, but I don't see him doing that long, like forever. I see Flynn going off and working on a more international role, helping all the other countries to bring in this new framework, which some understand it to be called Nasara, but I'm not even sure if that word, if that label is what it's going to be called going forward. The framework will be the same, but I don't think it will necessarily have that label of Nasara. So then the question is, who is going to take that front man role? And this is where people are getting quite excited to think that, John Kennedy Jr. might be coming back on the scene. And that really might be a possibility. But I don't think we're going to know that on the 20th of January. That's another one of those things that's going to be rolled out in a more gentle way, because I know a lot of people are talking about dramatic events, but that is not the excuse me, that's not the essence of Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't want big and shocking announcements that are going to affect people's psychology. He doesn't want that. So he would prefer that things are edged out in a more quiet and subtle way.
Yeah.
Which is why we're not seeing these big announcements that we're all so desperate to hear. Because even though you and I might be ready for that, we know what's been going on, we understand it all, most of the people don't. And if they start hearing some of the things just being blasted out in all together, that for some people they'll be able to manage that, and some people won't. And the last thing that Donald Trump wants is to create unrest and to create psychological problems where they don't need to do that.
Yeah. Well, I
So
mean,
my feeling, sorry, go on.
No, go on, you go on.
So I think my feeling is that wherever he can roll it out in a more calm way, he would prefer to do that. He's very keenly aware of how this is affecting not just America, but the whole world. He knows everyone's watching him, and he wants to do it. He wants to get it right. So if that means taking a little bit longer to get the pieces into position so that it doesn't fail, he would rather do that than just blast everyone with like controversial truths as the sake of just getting it done. That's not how he works.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, what is so interesting about the Nazara Jazara thing, of course, is debt forgiveness, constitutional restructuring, prosperity funds, and so much more. But I mean, I've been looking into it quite a bit recently, but it's quite interesting how some people are actually having this actually happen to them in America at the moment, but they can't explain it. But also, there are certain bills that have been passed regards the gold back standard and stuff. So there's stuff happening in the background, but it's just not in the fore at the moment. And what I keep hearing from all the channeled messages, and what I was hearing for a long time, is that 2020 to 24 are the big restructuring years, the big hard restructuring years where the systems will start changing, cracking down.
Yeah.
Things are going to be shaken so that things can come
Yeah.
up to the surface. It's all about purging, identity healing, all that kind of stuff. And you know, it's what I say to a lot of 5D people is that some 5D people think, oh my God, I'm slipping back into 5D because I'm starting to have all these awful emotions and things, but it's all stuff just coming to the surface because it has to come out. So,
Yes.
so I would say to people, don't worry, don't think you're slipping, don't think you're going vibrationally down. You're still staying vibrationally high, but this stuff has to come up and out. And it's like a fluorescent light you shine on a surface. All the dirt that was there in broad daylight suddenly pops out, but suddenly you can see it. And it's the same with your emotions and everything. You're purging everything. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say,
And it's not necessarily what's coming out, it's your perspective on what's happening. So if you're looking at all your symptoms and you're thinking, oh, I'm going down in vibration and this is dreadful and why is this happening to me, then yes, you are going back, you know, you're lowering your vibration. But if you're looking at the whole thing as this is fantastic, this is me reprogramming my carbon imprint into a crystalline structure, and this is all the things I no longer need, then firstly, that process will go more smoothly because you won't be resisting it. And secondly, you're looking at it from a 5D perspective. And so you'll stay in high vibration because your thoughts will be in match to what's going on and where you're headed. So that's a really good point.
And in terms of the sort of advice you give, I mean, you offer courses and you have a website, and I'll put all the links down below. But you offer various, I think, 4 tiers of help. Do you want to just touch on that for a little bit, just in case there's anyone looking for help?
Okay, so I'm actually on Patreon, and you can either just be a day-to-day Patreon supporter where you just get access to general posts, or you can do courses in particular things. So my expertise is in angels and archangels and how they affect the ascension process. So there are different tiers depending on where you're coming in from. So if you're a complete beginner, you would do the guardian angel course, and then you go on to archangels, and then maybe onto the ascension course. And if you didn't want to do it that way, you can find me on YouTube and you can follow information that way as well. And until recently, I was doing one-to-one sessions, but I have cut those back a little bit because
I mean,
I
your
was
business is
actually inundated.
yeah.
Yeah. And I want to focus a bit more on interviews and getting the YouTube channel even bigger in the coming year. So yeah, there are various ways you can contact me. You can also send me a message on my website as well.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, because I think you were on another interview. I can't remember who it was, and you were saying just how your work just recently has just literally exploded. You've been turning people down recently.
Yeah, I had to close a tier down. The tier for one-to-ones, I actually had to close it because I didn't have any. I was already booked for most of January, and I didn't want to take on any more one-to-ones at the moment. So that was a little bit of a shock to the system, to be
Yeah.
honest. But going back to what you were saying about the restructuring, I see that as well. That's a very big theme. And it's a very big theme in the terms of us as individuals becoming aware of our sovereignty and becoming more self-sufficient. So instead of expecting the government to put in place all these different rules and strategies and procedures, in the future, they're going to strip all of that away. And instead of having a nanny state, we're going to be it's going to be much more simplified, and the emphasis is going to be down to us to be good people and to have integrity and to not need to have leaders who in the past have actually not proven to be that what's the word, not that truthful most of the
Yeah.
time,
No
and
integrity.
no integrity, exactly. And so in the future, the integrity will lie with us, and we will make our own decisions. And so the law and the finance and the education and the healthcare industries, they're all going to change, and it's going to be more focused on what do we want as individuals rather than a bigger structure telling us what they think we should do, or what they think we need.
Mm.
So all of those big bureaucratic organizations are just going to either disappear completely, or they're just going to be really streamlined, because without all those rules and regulations, there's not going to be anything to operate, to
Yeah.
maintain.
I mean, what I would be interested, I certainly people for anyone who's watching this is people who are kind of really struggling right now. I think spiritually, not all of them, but there are a lot, and emotionally. Would you get what advice would you have them in terms of how to just hold their space, hold their energy, and not let stuff drag negative 3D timelines drag them down right now, spiritually and energetically?
I think if you're already awake, you're going to be very aware of what's around you that could possibly bring you down. And it's just to be, just each and every day, make a clear intention when you get up, that you're not going to let negative people or negative storylines or fear storylines come into your space. So people often say to me, yeah, but if I just block people, is that my ego? And I say, well, no, because your role right now is so important. It's so important right now that if you're a light worker or you're somebody who's awake, that you've got a job to do. And while people are coming at you with their intense negativity and criticism, they're distracting you from what you need to do. And at the moment, your full focus has to be on driving the whole world forward. So it's perfectly okay to strip back anything that is bringing that's not allowing you to do that job. And so if you're getting people being particularly rude and abusive, don't waste your time trying to explain to those people. Concentrate on the ones that are now ready, that need your help, because there will be people that need your help. So put your efforts there instead of fighting against perhaps people that aren't ready. So it's okay to post something on Facebook which you hope will maybe give some information to those that don't quite see what's going on. But if they're going to start being rude and abusive, for me, I just delete that, because I haven't got the time, and secondly, it's not my place to to coddle people that don't want to do their own work. Everyone has to do their own work. We're sovereign beings. We have to take responsibility for our own truth and for what's right for us, and not be doing the work for others. Otherwise, we're just back to what we've just been trying to dismantle.
Absolutely.
Everything has to come from us.
I see a lot of people who are trying to pull everyone up with them and getting totally weighed down. And I've been saying to people, just focus on the ones who are awake, because you're just going to jump in, and the ones that are drowning, are just going to drown you with them. I noticed something very fascinating about one of the courses that you do, because you make a differentiation between who are your spirit guides and who are your angel guides. And you
Yes.
give a little, could you touch on that? Because that's really fascinating.
Okay, so an angel has never had a human incarnation. So, and a spirit guide is somebody who normally has had a human form and has died and passed into spirit. The other difference is that an angel doesn't have any ego and only carries out the work of God. And God is whatever has meaning for you. So you don't have to be religious to meet your angels. And a spirit guide is somebody who does have some ego and has normally come into your life using the ego as a way to drive them forward. Because if you don't have a certain amount of ego, you can't make things happen. So this is why angels don't have ego, because they run under the instructions of God. But the spiritual guides, they come into your life to try and help you move forward with specifics of your soul plan, what you need to learn. So neither of them will tell you what to do. So your angel won't tell you what to do, and your spiritual guide won't tell you what to do, but they have specific roles. So the angels will be more about teaching you how to love unconditionally and how to approach your life from an unconditional love aspect. And the spiritual guides might be interested in teaching you about your career or your path, or some other sort of more technical area of your life. A spiritual guide can be someone that's from your family or someone that you don't know. And also a guide could be someone that in the inner planes is somebody who we call an ascended master. So an ascended master would be somebody who, when they were alive, they were quite spiritually, they had become quite spiritually aware. And then when they pass over, they become a teacher on the inner planes or an ascended master. So that's different to an angel being. So
Fantastic.
there's a definite distinction.
When my spiritual journey started, I was seeing orbs and flashes of light and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you get that? Do you get that as well?
Well, I did at the beginning, because when you see flashes of light and orbs, that's the angels trying to get in touch with you. So if you see orbs of light, that is an actual angel, and it means that they're trying to open up your what's called your clairvoyance, which is your third eye, and it's a way of them making themselves known to you before you actually have the spiritual capability to understand it exactly for yourself. And you might never have your third eye open, completely. That might not happen for everybody. But if you see an orb, either on your pictures or in real life, then that's an angel trying to make contact, or it's just an angel showing you that they're around you. And the flashes of light can be very similar. It can either be someone in spirit trying to get your attention, or it can be an angel just in your presence. And again, it's just showing you that your spiritual sight, your clairvoyance is starting to open.
Fantastic, fantastic. Another thing I wanted to touch on a little bit was the solar flash.
Okay.
What are your feelings on that? And did you experience anything? Because for me, it was very intense. Like, I know it was not placebo, but it was. I was thinking, yeah, something's going to come. Sure, everyone's talking about it, but when it came, it was a bit, for me, it was a bit like I was buckled in to a roller coaster ride, and I went on holiday with my other half, and we were meant to be sort of doing all kinds of things when we got to the hotel. But I was kind of like having to kind of hold on at points, and all through Christmas, and it's only just calmed down now. So um, something energetically happened around that
Wow.
time.
I think they need to bottle whatever that was, because that's what it was doing to you. I think we all need a bit of that. Um, The thing about the solar flash is really all it is just a portal that opened, and at that point some high energy was being pulsed through, and it will affect everyone differently because we're all at different stages of ascending and spiritual development and awareness, and we're also at different levels of resistance. You know, we talked about that just a minute ago. So the people that are resisting it and might not even know they're resisting it, they might have symptoms more intensely than others. So that could be one reason. Or it could just be that you're ready to release something that you weren't aware of. And so that could be quite intense. But again, it's different for everybody. So the earth is constantly being pulsed with energies all the time. But when we have these astrological alignments, these special ones, we sometimes just get these little windows where we get an opportunity for this energy to come through in a more defined way, in a stronger way. And I think they're designed, those astrological events, to help those that are just ready now to wake up. They're just ready, and it's just that final little, that final little push. It just gets them going, just
Yeah.
gets them over to the next level. So I did actually feel it quite intensely myself, but I felt it the week before, because I often get energies happening to me in advance before everybody else. And for me, it was like my crown chakra was on fire, and it was like someone was drilling in with a drill, like someone was going in a circular motion, drilling through my head. And I felt quite dizzy and off center for about 2 weeks. So I do get what you were saying, about holding on to the roller coaster. It was
I
really intense.
For
Yeah.
me, it started around the 10th, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and
Yeah.
I was like just holding on, and then it didn't calm down until around like I don't know, like the 1st, 2nd of January, and I really could have done with not having it around the Christmas period, actually,
Yes.
because it was really inconvenient. But I mean, there's going to be more waves that I'm hearing, and we're just going to keep on getting smaller ones now. So yeah, I mean, the whole thing's quite exhausting. I mean, it's so necessary, and I love it, and all the rest of it. But my God, they are really rushing us through. And a friend of mine who is she has an angelic background. I can't say who she is because she's do you know there's people who are part of like a spiritual soul witness protection program? They can't say who they
Really.
are.
Uh,
Yeah, but yeah, because
I
the
didn't know that.
yeah, because otherwise they might have like negative entities attached to attack
Oh,
them and stuff. Could even be governmental or military if they said who their star family or angelic background were. They're actually in like protection programs like in the astral realm, so they don't even talk about
wow. Yeah,
who
I
they
didn't
are
know about that.
for
Yeah.
protection. And she was telling me that she's connected to some people who come out of the deep state. She was saying, I'm saying, like God, the flash for me was just exhausting. Like I actually didn't even find it enjoyable at all. In fact, I wish it could have happened in January. And she was saying, yeah, the reason why they're just rushing us through this is because apparently the deep states were trying to plan other things like more 9/11s, more bomb attacks, more stuff, trying to like ruin our energy, more negative 3D timelines, stuff to try and like mess us up. So that's why it's been so like vigorous, the Ascension thing, like rushing us through it to basically counteract that's what I was hearing.
Yeah, that
So
would make sense, wouldn't it? Because as we've been getting, as a collective, as we've been raising our light, particularly in 2020, it really did upset the dark energies. And so they really did start trying to ramp up, their retaliation. But towards around the time of the solar flash, actually, I did actually start to see in my crystal ball that was easing and that the light had actually won. And I started to see the angels and Shambhala, which is the city of light, which is just above us in the etheric realms. And I saw that, and angels kind of just singing over us, and the dark had completely dissipated. So that doesn't mean it's completely over, of course, but it was just showing me a vision of, in terms of where we're up to in the journey, the light actually has now taken the upper hand. So whatever they were doing at the solar flash and throughout this period of time, it's worked,
Yeah.
because, you know, even though we do still have dark energies that are fighting for their lives, in terms of who's got the upper hand, it's definitely the light that has the upper hand. But that doesn't mean we have to be complacent and let our guard down. We just keep soldiering on, doing our work, and helping other people to awaken, and also to bring in more light, because we can never have enough light, can never have enough.
Absolutely, we can never have enough light. I've actually met some souls that are archonic. You know the archons.
Well, I don't actually know the archons very well, because I'm not very well informed about ETs and the other races. But you know, when we do our next interview, that's what I'm going to be asking you about.
Yeah.
So perhaps in the next interview, I'll ask you that question.
Perhaps we'll go into it then, yeah, because I mean, some of these negative, there are what they have. Some negative souls have actually managed to get through the net to come in here to lower the vibration. And I seem to do, the higher my vibration goes up, I seem to do a very good job at bumping into more and more and more of those. And they just love to destroy the light. Yeah,
And I think this is a good point, because people are getting confused about dimensions, and you know, when they're talking about 5 dimension, they're getting very confused. There are two things going on. Firstly, you've got the earth, which is shifting vibration and shifting dimension. So you've got the earth going from a 3D world to a 5D world. So the earth is doing its own thing, ascending, and it's going up. And then you've got us as spiritual beings, also in a different dimensions. So you and I can be at different dimensions. You could be at 5, I might be at 6. So the earth is doing one thing, and us as people on the earth are doing something different. So people think that if they are at 5D, like say you and me are at 5D, they can't be attacked. But they can, because the earth is not at 5D yet. The attacking won't stop until the earth rests in 5D. And it's currently on its journey to 5D. It's on the 4th dimension. Earth is on the 4th dimension. And it won't get to 5D until about 2032. So during that time, while Earth is ascending, and we're all ascending as individuals at different levels, we all have to be careful of our protection, because we can all be attacked at any time. It helps if we keep our vibration as high as we can, but until Earth settles in a 5D dimension, we can still be open to attack. And this is where people get confused, because I've heard people saying, oh, well, if you're at 5D, you can't be attacked. Only if Earth is at 5D can we not be attacked. Because when Earth gets to 5D, there won't be duality anymore. There won't be light and dark. It will just be one level. But on the journey there, we're still in duality. And us as people, you know, we're still liable to be attacked by dark forces. So we have to do our spiritual work and our spiritual protection, you know, probably even more than we've ever had to do, because the darkness is not complacent anymore. You know, it used to be quite complacent, just getting on with what it was doing, because we didn't realize how strong it was. Now it's realizing that we do know what the dark's up to. It's obviously upping its game. So, you know, we're more vulnerable in some respects now than we've ever been. So it's quite worrying when people say, oh, I'm in 5D, so I don't have to protect, you know, nothing can get to me. That's just not the case. You have to be very, very careful.
No, you certainly do. And I've noticed that as well, that the higher my vibration's gone, I definitely have been more vulnerable towards attacks, certainly.
That's actually a positive thing. You know, when my students mention about getting attacked, I say to them, even though that's unpleasant, that's a sign of your progress, because each time you up your light, they up their ante. You know, they up the dark. So it's just showing really that you're getting stronger. If you think of it like learning karate or something, you start on whatever color belt at the beginning, and then as you progress, your teacher obviously gives you harder lessons during the session, and it's just and if it's starting to feel like it's getting more difficult, it means you're progressing, and then you get the next color karate belt or whatever. Exactly the same with the spiritual path. As you're getting better, it's obvious that you're going to get more attacks until you level up again, get your strength back again, get everything integrated and aligned, get your spiritual shields up, and your get grounded, and all the things that you need to do. So it's just a sign of your progress, because you're shining so bright, the dark suddenly has an interest in you, doesn't like it, so it's going to try and extinguish that.
Absolutely. That's 100% right. That's 100% right. And the last thing I wanted to touch on just before we do a conclusion is currency. It looks like
Okay.
the crypto thing. You don't have to go too much into depth, but it looks like this crypto thing is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're going to go into a digital currency. And I think that is happening really big time in the background. Would you agree with that?
I think we are going to be moving into some digital currency going forward, whether it's going to be Bitcoin or XRP or whatever. I'm not really an expert in those fields. That would actually be someone else that deals with digital currency that could help you with that. But in terms of Nasara, we're definitely going to go to a gold-backed currency, and the whole banking system is going to just be completely overhauled. I doubt we're going to even have banks anymore in the way that we currently know it. We're probably going to have a digital wallet on our laptops or our phones, and our banking is going to be more personal. It's not going to be held in a head office somewhere. It's going to be more, I don't really know how to describe it, but it's like we're going to hold our own bank accounts in our mobile phone, in our own digital wallet. And so there's not going to be this need for the middleman as such.
Do you have a overall kind of conclusion for this year and for things that people need to think about and the state of play at the moment? So conclusionary sort of a statement, as it were.
Well, I think that this year is going to be maybe faster paced and even more intense than the year we've just had. And that's partly going to be because the people that aren't quite awake yet, but are on the verge of waking up, are going to start getting quite angry. With these continual lockdowns, they're going to be losing their businesses. And it's going to probably be that's going to be the catalyst for people, just waking up. But I think during that process, we're going to see a lot of unrest, a lot of unhappy people. And I think that the overview for light workers is just to stand steady, keep back, as I said, anything that's trying to undermine you, keep in the knowledge that we've won, and just know that everything ahead is really bright and that we will get to the other side of this. And it's just about taking everything literally like one day at a time, because at the moment we just never know what's going to happen from 1 minute to the next. It's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. Michelle Fielding, I'd like to thank you so much for today. I always have fun when I get with you. We had an absolutely hilarious chat before we started.
I know. Yes, thank you.
And yeah, I look forward to when we do an ET expose, shenanigans, everything about ETs. So look out for that. And I will put all of Michelle's links below. her Patreon, her website. I know she's absolutely inundated with work at the moment, but do get in touch with her. She will help you through at the moment. Check out her website and her YouTube. Michelle, you're absolutely smashing. I always say, whenever I see you on social media, I always say, Fielding, you legend. And I will see you very soon, and God bless.
Thank you so much for having me. See you soon.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye.